Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Monday, yes. I'm actually feeling quite happy today as well. It's weird, I never know why. Emotions are a bit like the weather, aren't they? They just come and go. I try not to pay too much attention, to be fair, but still, happiness is the emotion. So, anyway, on with the story. When these guys were embroiding me into their program, they wanted to train me to expand my perception. They generally operate just outside of the awareness of human perception. It's not that they're imperceptible, but most humans just can't see them. Some people that's psychic, they can. And they did explain to me that psychic ability is a little bit like being able to play a musical instrument. People generally fall into three categories. You get people that are naturally gifted, people that just have to look at an instrument and they can play. And then you get the majority of people that can get really good at it, providing they practice. And then you always get a few people that obviously can't do it no matter how much they practice. They're just rubbish at it. So psychic abilities are considered by them to be similar. Everyone kind of has potential. So I want to sort of like, with this video and these videos, is going to be like a full disclosure, you know, like I don't want to hide anything from you. I want to tell you everything that they told me, and not looking to be mysterious or anything like that. So by the time this channel's done, you're going to know, hopefully, at least everything I know, and more, hopefully. So they told me that. Sorry, I should just say that at first in the program they were coming to me in my dreams. They would break into my dreams so that we could have these like open dialogues. And there's definitely more to know about dreams. I've had people that have passed come into my dreams as well. And I assume there is a lot more to know about the dream state and what's achievable in it. But it's not actually my area of expertise, other than the experiences with these guys coming in. They told me that my sense, or most people's sense of presence, is better than their sense of sight when it comes to them. So the first part of the program was to work on my sense of presence, and I'll explain to you how they told me to do that, which is something I did and I practiced until I had it. So I would sit in a room, and I had some friends and stuff, and I had friends, and I basically I would sit down on a chair with my eyes closed, and then I would get. At first, it was with this woman that I was working with at a cemetery. It was just me and her. That's how we started. I would sit on the chair, close my eyes, center myself with a few deep breaths and stuff, and then she would take her boots off, and she would quietly walk into the room, and then I would tell her that she was in the room based on nothing else than tuning into a sense of presence, feeling that she was in there. And very quickly I became very good at it. In fact, these entities did tell me that I was somebody who was naturally talented with these concepts. Possibly that was due to other factors, including the previous encounters that I'd had and all that kind of stuff. But so what I found was that very quickly I could sit there and I could sense presence. The next level of that was to have 3 friends in my house, and we'd play games. I wouldn't tell them exactly why it was happening, but I would just say, can we play this game? I want to improve my psychic ability and stuff. And at first I would be able to sit in the room and impress them by being able to tell them when someone had come into the room. Now, I can't express exactly how it's done. All I can say to you is that if you practice it, you will understand. It's a bit like trying to tell someone how to whistle with their fingers. You know, you just have to practice until you get it. But what eventually happened was that not only could I tell when someone was in the room, but when I had the 3 friends there, I could actually tell which one it was that was walking into the room. I could sense the different energies of my friends, and I could freak them out by actually saying which one it was that was in the room, and I was getting it right, like, 95% of the time. And sometimes they would try and bamboozle me by 2 of them walking in, and funnily enough, from my side of it, like, I would get confused, and then they would like laugh and tell me that like 2 of them had walked in, or all 3 of them had walked in. But it still validated for me that the fact that I'd got confused was because multiple energies had walked in at the same time. So while that was going on, these entities were still coming into my dreams. Mostly it was in my dreams. There was still stuff happening on this level of reality, but I was only peripherally aware of it. I'd remember like the start of a contact or the end of one, and there'd be anomalies around it, whereas like, I wouldn't be where I thought I was a second ago and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, as this program went on, they when I kind of mastered this ability to be able to sense their presence, and I started to sense their presence quite often. They would come in, they were doing it on purpose. They would come into my bedroom, and I couldn't see them, but I could feel them intensely, and I knew it was them as well. Like, they have a very sort of specific energy resonance, and when they'd come in, I would know it was them and not a ghost or something like that. I could tell that it was them. They have a very, very specific flavour about them. Yeah. Again, there's no real words for it, but some of you are going to understand what I'm saying. And perhaps if you practice these techniques, you would too. Somebody did comment on the Facebook the other day saying that they wanted to learn how to initiate contact. It's not something I really want to do. I don't suggest it to anybody. For me, it would be that you don't really want these guys in your life any more than they are already. But the reason why I want to give you these tools is because I do want you to be able to perceive them when they're around. Because if you do, they can't get the drop on you as such, if you know what I'm saying. So anyway, it went on to like a phase 2 training, and what happened then was they explained to me that our vision was mainly governed by our mind, and that the periphery of our vision was a wider spectrum than what we saw straight ahead of us, if that makes sense. A lot of the times when people say, I saw it in the corner of my eye. I turned around, there was nothing there. Well, actually, I would suggest that there was something there. And when you looked straight at it, it just appeared to you to disappear because of the way our vision works. So there's a way to overcome that. So what would happen is I'd get... Now, I think another thing I would get off them as well was telepathics. So they would quite often give me a heads up that they were coming. At the time, obviously, you've got to remember that they had me hoodwinked into believing that I was a part of the team, and they were giving me all this information, as my friends and stuff like that. I didn't realise at the time that they were planning on the fact that they would end my life at some point. That didn't actually happen, as you can tell. I'm sure you're all very perceptive and can tell that I'm still here, but we'll get to that. So anyway, the training went like this. They would come into the room. They'd tell me they were coming, so I would go into my bedroom. I would sit there. I would do what people perceive as meditation. I'd start breathing, centering myself, basically just relaxing. And then they would enter the bedroom. There'd be no sound or anything else like that, but there would be presence, and I absolutely knew that they were there. Sometimes it would come along with telepathics as well, and they would tell me that they were there. Now, the secret was to not look directly where I thought they were, but I would open my eyes, and then they made a point of being stood in my periphery, and I could perceive them in my periphery. But you couldn't directly focus on it. You could just see like the shape of them there, it's kind of blurry, kind of in the periphery of your vision. The thing to do then was to not panic, because there was like a want to kind of like panic, and there'd be like a surge of adrenaline and stuff like that. You had to stay calm and not look at them directly. It was very important. You had to not look at them directly. You had to hold them in your periphery. And the first couple of times, that was all we did. I just held them in my periphery, and then they would back away and they would go. And I could feel them going, and I would see in my periphery that I no longer could see them. As time went on, this happened like fairly quickly. We're talking, it took weeks really for me to get this, but it felt like it happened quite quick. They would tell me to very slowly turn my head towards them. And I would, ever so slightly, turn my head towards them a little bit, just a tiny little bit. And as long as they didn't disappear, just hold it there. Hold them there slightly more into the mainstream of my vision. And I would sit there. Now, occasionally what would happen is I'd get excited and I would turn a little bit too fast. And as soon as I did, it was gone. I could still feel them there, but I could not see them, and then the vision had gone, sort of thing. It was, I would have to turn back away again, see them in my periphery, and then very, very slowly turn my head. Now, eventually, I got to the point where one of them was sat next to me on the bed, and I was able to turn around and look at them directly in the eye and hold them there, and they didn't disappear, and my mind had been changed and my perception had been changed, and I now could see them clearly when I looked directly at them. That was a massive paradigm shift for me. I was now living in a different world where these guys were absolutely real. I could hear them, I could see them, I could feel them. And then after that, I was ready to start their program with other people. They had techniques which they were going to employ to get these other people to be able to meet them. I've got to look into, I need to ask some friends of mine about what is and isn't allowed to be said on YouTube, because you can probably read between the lines what they were telling me that I needed to do with these other people and the techniques I needed to employ. It worked. That's all I can tell you, but providing I find out that it's okay for me to talk about it on YouTube, of course I will. I'm not going to hide anything from you. I'm going to tell you exactly how things were and how it worked out. So, yeah, if you're having contact, just to let you know, these techniques, they work. They come straight from the horse's mouth, if you like, and they worked, and they allowed me to see them. Now, the advantage to that, I would say now, is that they can't get the drop on me. They can never come into my house when I'm awake, because I'll see them, and they can never interfere with me in my proximity, because I sense them when they're around, and because of that, I know if I'm being messed with. But it happens very seldomly now. Like I said to you, I believe that they still are monitoring me, but they have to be much more careful with me, because we're playing on a little bit more of a level playing field. So I hope that's been informative for you, and tomorrow I will move forward with the rest of the story about how they tried to hoodwink a number of my friends into this game that they wanted to play, that was centered around me, and it was centered around the idea of trying to destroy my life, and did a pretty good job, to be fair, for a while. But there's something deeper that was keeping me going, and it's the reason why I'm here today, and it's the reason why I'm making these videos. You take care, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.